So before we move on, I would like us to add some geometry that is going to be around the character so we can see the movement and preserve it better. And I would like to link the camera to the character. To do so, I'm going to need to switch the character to pose mode, select the root of it, because this is what we're moving. Select the camera, and from Control P menu, I choose bone relative. Now, as you can see, the camera is following the character. You can also see that in the right top corner where I have this small view. And now let's get to modeling the environment. So this could be anything. I'm just improvising, just doing some small road on which it's going to be walking. I want to make sure that that it's long enough for the path that it walks. Now let's make a wall. Rotate it 90 degrees. Again, with the shortcuts, press R, press Y to say that I'm rotating across the Y axis, and type in 90 on my keyboard, and that results in quickly rotating an object 90 degrees across Y axis. So we'll put it like that. Oh, apparently I had auto key on while I was doing those transformations, which resulted in animation of that object. So I'll just delete the starting key, or just remove all the animation from the object, clear keyframes on everything. Same on the other object, just in case. Yeah, now it's good. It was visible from the camera that the object is the end of the object is seen in the camera. So I'll make it. I'm making it even longer. By switching to the render view, I can already see how it's gonna look. Let's turn back on the sun that we created earlier. I prefer using cycles, even though for something as simple as that we could use Blender render, but cycles gives us more interesting results. And mixing physically correct rendering with stylistic characters is always fun, always interesting. So I want us to start working on the materials that are going to be on the wall, so that's why I'm splitting the view here, and switching to node editor in one of them, so I can see the materials. Creating a new material for the floor. I'm going to select image texture here for the diffuse, which is the color. And I've downloaded some textures from the internet that are used in Blender. So I'm going to pick one. You can pick your own. So as you can see, we cannot. It is not visible in the viewport right now, even though we have loaded the image. The reason to that is that this object doesn't have any UV mapping yet. And so the Blender doesn't know how to align the image. So we can do some simple UV unwrap. Kind of like that, and use the UV transform modifier for actually editing that. The modifier requires an empty object. As you can see here, there is a, well, not necessarily an empty object, but use empty. So Shift A and any empty will be fine. And now let's select that empty in this list. Yeah, so now you can see the texture is much aligned much better, and we can use scale and rotation and transformation to control how the texture is going to be lying on that object. Let's do this and create an empty for the wall as well. And do the same procedure for it. Let's create a new material, give it a name, and choose image texture here. Once again, just another texture that I found online. As you can see, it won't work until you give some UV space to the object. So let's repeat the procedure before we do some simple unwrap. Now the way it looks right now might look weird, but this is just because the null object, the rotation of the null object is not correct. Just let's just rotate it, and you can see the texture starts appearing, so we need to rotate it exactly 90 degrees. Here we go, and it looks like it's vertical. So let's rotate the texture so it's so the bricks are horizontal. And it looks good. I think we'll add some light, some small details to the wall. I'm not sure if you can call it details, but it's all up to you what you want to add. I've applied the UV modifier to this geometry because we don't need it anymore. We could have kept it actually. Maybe it was an even better idea to keep it, but if we're still editing the geometry, but oh well. So I'm gonna add a couple of edge loops with Control R, and with the scroll wheel I'm controlling the amount of them. I want to add like a couple of niches, like arcs in the wall, just so that we can feel the motion better. Again, with Control R, I'm gonna add one more edge loop that is gonna define the top end of those niches. And I'm gonna bevel the loops that we have. And with the faces that we got, those I'm gonna extrude inside by pressing E on my keyboard. Yes. Just something. In order to make the picture look a little bit better, I think we could change the color of the environment, which is going to affect the color of the sky and the way sky is lighting the scene. So let's switch to world settings here, and no, actually we can switch it in the notes. So in the notes, switch to world and turn on use nodes here, Yes, and you can see these two nodes here, and this is the color of the sky that you're controlling here. So let's increase its brightness, its value. And you can see how it's affecting the whole scene, not just the color in the background. So I'm going for a light blue skylight color. So the scene is much more bright. Yeah, that looks good. And I think we're almost ready to start rendering that. But first of all, before that, let's utilize the facial animation, two features that we've added to that rig, and animate the face of that character.